Hi, hello everyone, and welcome in today's Pathogens in the Spotlight session. We will be speaking about some interesting applications for veterinarians that are busy with horse. So today we will be speaking about some cases of respiratory disease, reproductive problems, and also will highlight some potential applications for enteric disease in horses. So let's get started today. One of the first interesting cases that I have for you is an outbreak, let's say an ongoing airway infections in some trotters. There were 80 trotters that were affected, and this infectious disease problem was spreading from one horse to the other. Now the veterinarian took a throat swab from animals that were showing really acute throat problems and also nasal discharge. And here we identified a Mycoplasma pulmonis infection in this horse. Very interesting because also in a recent publication from Martineau, it was described that there are three Mycoplasma species that can be found in horses regularly. One, the most abundant, is Mycoplasma equine. Then we also have Mycoplasma pulmonis, like in this case, and also Mycoplasma felis has been described very seldomly in horses. So I think a very interesting finding for the veterinarian that can go on with treatment of the horse. In another case that was submitted by a horse veterinarian, also, let's say, a long-lasting problem already for 1 month in some horses, was also spreading from one horse to the other, and it also led to poor performance in these animals. And here, a sample was also collected from the airways, and we found a Pseudomonas infection. Pseudomonas is also kind of a respiratory bacterium that is not regularly detected in diagnostics, but can also play a role in respiratory infections in many animal species. So again, an interesting case, I think. Then we also saw a horse of 3 years old. Very interesting because this animal showed fever, nasal and ocular discharge, and this animal was vaccinated against influenza, but also equine herpesvirus 1 in the last 6 months. Very interesting is that we collected samples from this animal from the respiratory tract, and we found influenza. Very interesting is that we could also pick up the hemagglutinin and neuraminidase segment, and that was H3 and H strain that was being found in that case. This seemed to be a lineage that was not included in the vaccines at that moment of sample collection. So also very interesting to follow up on that. Horses, we should not forget the donkeys, I think, also very cute animals. And here this was a group of donkeys that was affected by respiratory but also neurological symptoms. And one sample was collected from a 6-year-old donkey. This donkey was showing fever, also serous nasal discharge, ocular discharge, and also was anorexic and lethargic. Here we picked up equine herpesvirus 8. Many people will know, of course, equine herpesvirus 1, but donkeys are known to be reservoirs or carriers really of equine herpesvirus 8. And also very interesting is that this equine herpesvirus 8 is also strongly genetically related to equine herpesvirus 1. So there is also a publication by Mary Garvey that shows that it even might be possible that equine herpesvirus 8 might be underdiagnosed because of this reason, because of its strong relatedness to equine herpesvirus 1. So very interesting. If we move then to some other potential applications, we can think of reproductive problems, for instance, where we had some nice examples of equine herpesvirus 1 picked up in the liver of aborted foals. And also, I think some bacterial causes that we see, for instance, bacteria like Acinetobacter and Vibrio. We also see them in some other animal species. we think about cattle, but also pigs. This could be really bacterial causes of an infection. If we go to enteric infections, I think there is a lot of potential for PathoSense. And for many reasons, if we look to some viral infections, we can think of course, fall diarrhea, where, for instance, rotavirus can play a role. But what we see is that mostly traditional diagnostics were only looking to rotavirus A, which is a particular species within this rotavirus genus. But there is also more and more other species that are coming up. We have seen rotavirus B and C in many animal species becoming really more prevalent, like in pigs, for instance. But there have also been outbreaks described of, for instance, rotavirus B in horses. So I would be very interested to have a look at those samples as well. Also, when we look to the bacteria, this bacteriosis, leaky gut in foals is very, I think, a common problem. And they're looking to the microbial composition with the PathoSense analysis could be kind of an interesting way to look about disturbances in the bacterial composition and see if we can solve those problems later on. Now, finally, I want to conclude with some other potential applications where nanopore sequencing, a method to sequence long strands of DNA, can also give some advantages in epidemiological follow-up of some viruses like equine herpesvirus 1. And then we go back to 21. At 21, most horse veterinarians will remember there was in the Iberian Peninsula, there was a huge horse gathering. And afterwards, there were a lot of equine herpesvirus outbreaks across Europe. Also in Belgium, we got samples also from horses that had a travel history. And using nanopore sequencing, we were able to make kind of a phylogenetic tree, genetic analysis of the strains that were found in these outbreaks. We also got samples at that moment from a lab in France, Labeo, and also in Ireland, Irish Equine Centre from Professor Anne Cullinane. Those animals didn't travel at that moment, so they didn't have a travel history, while the Belgian strains really do have a travel history. And we saw that in the phylogenetic tree, they were clustering separately, so really indicating that the Belgian strains were linked to the outbreak and the other ones were not linked to the outbreak. And I think if we take that further, this could be really a practical application for veterinarians when there are huge equine herpesvirus 1 outbreaks, to have kind of an overview of, okay, what is happening in the field, how are the strains evolving, and what can we learn from it? Can we link biosecurity measures to certain shifts in the strain evolution, for instance? So that was it for today. So it was the pathogens in the spotlight about horses. And if you have any further questions, feel free to send us a message afterwards. Thank you very much.